As a nutrition coach, I share information about nutrition and health and wellness all the time, but I've never actually taken the time to sit down and talk about nutrition and wellness as it pertains to living with a disability, and today I am going to do exactly that. In this video, we're going to get the absolute bare basics about the different macronutrients that are in our food, proper nutrition as it pertains to living with Charcot Marie Tooth Disease or a different disability of a similar type, and my personal suggestions about what the best type of diet would be for somebody with CMT, like me. But before we dive in, allow me to introduce myself. Hi, my name is Brianna. I am the diva behind the Disabled Diva, and I am so glad you decided to click on this video today. As I mentioned, I am a wellness and nutrition coach, and I am also somebody who is living with CMT type 1B. And here on the Disabled Diva, I am sharing my journey through life with my experiences living with CMT and striving to be the healthiest and fittest version of myself possible. But also a disclaimer here, I am not a medical professional. The stuff that you see in my videos are not meant to replace anything talked about by your neurologist or your disability healthcare professional. So please keep that in mind as you go through my content as a whole and this video. Okay, let's get started. Like I said, we're starting with the bare basics. We are going to talk about macronutrients. What are they? What do they mean? If you've ever picked up an item of food and you look at the nutrition label, you will see certain things always listed out, including the 3 macronutrients that all foods and beverages are made of. Those are fat, carbohydrates, and protein. All of your foods have some combination of these. While there are some foods that are mostly, if not almost entirely, one macronutrient, many of the foods you consume are going to be some combination of the 3. Fat is the most calorie-rich and probably, at least in my opinion, the most delicious of the macronutrients. And fat breaks down into fatty acids to help provide energy for the body. Contrary to what diet culture might tell you, fat is absolutely essential to our health and well-being, and everybody needs to be consuming at least some fat. Fat can be found in a multitude of things. Dairy, think cheeses and butter, of course. It's also all of our oils and things like avocado. But don't forget, fat can also be found in things like meats. Think beef and bison and pork and all of those delicious things. Some of the yummiest parts, or the reason that those things are so yummy, is because of their fat content. Fat is essential to our well-being and is one of the 3 macronutrients. The next macronutrient is carbohydrates. Contrary to popular belief, again, carbohydrates are something that are absolutely necessary to our health and well-being. Carbohydrates are our body's primary energy source, and therefore it is something that we need to make sure we get adequate amounts of to serve our bodies properly. Carbohydrates are exactly what you think of when you think carbohydrates, right? We've got breads, pastas, grains, but don't forget, things like fruits and vegetables are also primarily carbohydrate-based. Carbohydrates can come in 2 forms that are really the processed, refined carbohydrates and the whole fiber-filled version of carbohydrates. While I firmly believe there is no such thing as a good food versus a bad food, there are foods that are more aligned with optimal health and nutrition and foods that are less aligned with optimal health and nutrition. You should know that I am team eat dessert every day, so I do not believe that things like sugar and the bad foods, we don't talk like that here on this channel, are off limits. It is important to seek out carbohydrates that are fiber-filled because fiber is so good for our body for so many reasons. It helps us stay fuller longer. It helps our digestion. It feeds our gut microbiome, which is responsible for so much of our body's ability to heal itself and take care of itself. So fiber feeds those little buggies that live down in our gut. And it's important we take good care of them by eating various types of fiber. Fun fact, the only way you can get fiber is to eat carbohydrates. Fiber is not found in any other macronutrient. And then, of course, there is protein. Protein is the building block of our bodies. It is the building block of our muscle tissue. If you are here because you have a disability like CMT or muscular dystrophy or something similar, you understand just how important hanging on to as much muscle tissue as we possibly can is. Therefore, protein is a macronutrient that we should be eating, and we should be eating often. It's literally the foundational building blocks, amino acid by amino acid, of our bodies, and is critically important. Together, fats, carbohydrates, and protein make up the entirety of what we eat and drink. I know we've barely scratched the surface, but that's just a little bit of information on what each of the macronutrients are. But now let's talk about the best kind of diet for people with Charcot Marie Tooth Disease or similar disabilities. And guess what? You're probably not gonna like the answer. Now again, I am no medical professional. However, I did speak with a medical professional, a professional in the Charcot Marie Tooth Disease field, Dr. Shai himself, when he was up here in Minnesota, where I am located, for the Minneapolis CMT walk, which was such a fun experience. And I got some quality one-on-one time with the man himself. And nutrition is actually a topic that I brought up because I frequently try to find information about, is there a particular way of eating that would help my body to thrive even better? And so I asked him, I was like, Dr. Shai, is there any research that shows there's a particular way that I should be eating? And you want to know what his answer was? No. No, there isn't actually a diet that is specifically geared towards curing or fixing or even managing CMT. So if you're encountering a diet that is promising any of those things, do not believe it. The man himself, one of the heads of CMT research, says there's currently not enough research to be able to safely say, not only is there not a diet that is specific for CMT in a way that will help, but there are no supplements that he can say with utmost confidence also helps. Now, that doesn't mean that on an individualized basis, you might not find something that works for you personally, but as a general blanketed statement, there is no particular diet that is made for CMT or things of the like, okay? However, that doesn't mean that there are not critical things that we can do within our diet and our nutrition consumption to help give us the best chance. So as a nutrition coach, here are a couple of things that I personally not only recommend to my non-disabled clients, but as somebody disabled myself, these are nutritional guidelines that I follow on a regular basis to give my body the best shot at nourishing and maintaining itself. Starting with eating enough protein. You guys, like I said, protein is the building block of our muscle tissue. We need protein in order to create muscle. And I personally find that for me, I need protein to prevent the atrophy of muscle. Is it a perfect science? No, but here's what I do know. Not only do I feel more satisfied when I eat protein, but I feel like I can do more things. I feel more energized, and I feel confident that I am giving my body what it needs as I go forth and I'm active and I'm weightlifting and I'm doing everything else that I possibly can to help mitigate the progress of CMT. Because to be fair, there is no cure for CMT yet. There is no thing, no diet, no magic pill, no food. There's nothing that's going to cure our CMT yet. So again, don't let people tell you that there is. But that doesn't mean we can't do everything possible to try our best, right? There are no guarantees that anything I tell you or anyone else tells you will successfully prevent the progression of CMT. But we can hope and we can try. So I eat at least 100 grams of protein a day. Now, I used to be a tracker of my food. Up until recently, I moved into the intuitive eating space, so I don't actually track my food anymore. But my body can tell when it doesn't get enough protein. I am hungrier when I'm not eating enough protein. So if you're not somebody who wants to pick up macro tracking for the sake of making sure you've gotten enough protein, here is a great general rule of thumb. Have protein at every single meal. Breakfast, lunch, and dinner. The first thing I want you to do is sit down and be like, okay, what's my protein focus here? And then build the rest of your meal around those things. Eggs for breakfast with a little bit of Canadian bacon and a couple tablespoons of liquid egg whites is one of my go-tos. And it can get me 35 to 40 grams of protein just in that meal alone. For lunch, if you're used to having a turkey sandwich, maybe throw a little extra turkey on there. And don't forget, protein can be found in some really hearty breads as well as the cheese you put on your sandwich. So it's not just the animal protein that has to be the protein source. course, but you can build a couple of components within a meal to really beef up, no pun intended, that protein level. And then when you're looking at dinner, even if you want to have something like fettuccine alfredo, that's great, go ahead. But can you throw some chicken breast on top of that to make sure you're getting adequate protein throughout the day? This is super, super important and something I highly recommend to all of my CMTers out there. When it comes to carbohydrates, like I said, I am team eat dessert every day, but there is power in eating the fiber-filled foods, right? So we want to make sure that a majority of our carbohydrates are coming from whole, healthy carbohydrates. Think fruits and vegetables and sprouted grains and nuts and all of these things that have fiber in them. Seeds, chia seeds, basil seeds, all of those things are carbohydrates, and yes, some of them do contain other macronutrients, like chia seeds, basil seeds, and nuts also contain adequate amounts of fat and a little bit of protein. Most foods are a combination of the three, but for the sake of carbohydrates, we're talking about carbs with fiber. A great rule of thumb is just to think about it throughout the day. I like to make sure I'm having vegetables at least 2 out of the 3 meals a day. And if I'm really on point, I will also have fruits or vegetables with or as a snack throughout the day as well. And you can keep this varied. If you're not a salad person, try some roasted vegetables. If you don't like broccoli, that's fine. Don't eat it. Find something that you do like to eat that provides your body with the natural nutrients that your body needs. And then of course there is fats. Again, we don't need low-fat, fat-free diets. We need moderate, healthy fat diets. So think of it this way. If there is a type of fat that I would suggest consuming less of, it would be the saturated fat variety and absolutely the trans fats. Avoid trans fats if you can. Although admittedly, occasionally the hydrogenated oil in the form of like a really good canned frosting will make its way into my life. Nothing is completely off limits, but awareness is everything in nutrition. So I want you to take a look at the fats and lean more towards the healthier fats. Salmon and other fatty fish contain really great amounts of omega-3 fatty acids, which are super, super important to our bodies. Olive oil, avocado oil, things of that nature. The fats that are often found in dairy and meat tend to be more saturated fats. So while I thoroughly believe you should absolutely enjoy them, enjoying saturated fats more in moderation is more ideal than eating the healthier unsaturated fats. Think of the unsaturated fats as the ones that you can go to all of the time, and the saturated fats as the ones you save for a special occasion. The time you want burgers, or the time you want butter on your toast. Oh my gosh, do I love butter on warm bread. There are few things in this world that bring me as much food joy as warm bread and melted butter. And I'm not saying you can't have that, but I'm just saying be aware of these things and use your best judgment when it comes to your food choices. And of course, there's always the questions of like, well, what about sweets and desserts and things like that? Everything is okay in moderation, in my opinion. So if you like dessert, maybe don't eat dessert after every meal, but maybe have it once a day. Or if you really like a big piece of cheesecake, maybe have that once or twice a month as opposed to every single weekend you go out. There is room and space for everything in a healthy and balanced diet. But if you're looking to hone in on more optimal nutrition, there are different places that you can pick and choose what to add and what to remove at your discretion. Now let me be clear. If your doctor has given you a diet that you're supposed to stick to that is contradictory to something I said in this video, please follow your doctor's orders instead. If you are diabetic, you might need to be a little bit less focused on getting carbohydrates or really choosy about the types of carbohydrates that you have. At the end of the day, my body and your body, while we might have the same disease, still function very differently, and we have different nutritional needs, and it is on you to play personal scientist to your body and figure out what balance of nutrition works best for you. You are your #1 advocate. You are the person who knows your body best. So go ahead and explore and try eating more protein and see how it makes you feel over time. Or try adding in some carbs after you've stopped eating carbs because you heard they were bad for you, and see if your energy increases. You guys, carbohydrates are a primary source of energy. So if you're dealing with fatigue and you're also eating low carb, you might want to add some carbs back into your life, if you know what I'm saying. It will naturally boost your energy level. So this video was just meant to be a little basic nutrition 101 for people like me and my opinions on the matter. So I hope you found this helpful in some way. Thank you so much for hanging out with me today and visiting my little place on the internet. I hope you come back soon. Until then, take care. Bye.